Oh shiz. This card right here. Right here. This card. Finally came out. And we don't have the Genesis stuff yet. We don't have the Genesis stuff yet. We don't have the triggers. We don't have the grade 8. We don't have grade 8. We don't have 8K vanilla, 10K vanilla. We don't have any of the support except for like 5 cards. But we get Fortuna, but we don't have anything else. We don't even have the perfect card. How are we going to build this deck? Can't even run it because you can't even build a 50 card deck with the stuff that we have yet. But she's very good. So let's talk about it. Goddess of Good Luck, Fortuna, I think. I don't know, I can't read Japanese. What do you think I do? What? Anyways, I'm going to read off the card here. Okay, Lord. Obvious. Soul Blast 3. Plus 5,000. Okay, before I go anything, I'd just like to say that Genesis is a very, very different clan. I believe it is the only deck that Soul Blasts consistently. Like, we have clans that can Soul Charge. We got clans that kind of rely on Soul. Not really. But there's just a bunch of clans. But there's not a clan that just revolves around Soul Blasting. You just get the Soul, and then you dump the Soul. Like when you eat food, and you just let it all out later. But not now, because you just ate, and it doesn't process. Anyways, deck involves around Soul Blasting. There are kind of effects that Soul Blast, for the most part, though, most of the grade 3 effects revolve around Soul Blasting. In general. Like, you need the Soul to activate the effects, so you run cards that Soul Charge well. They got an Emblem Master, they got a Luring Succubus, they got a bunch of things, blah, 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 blah. So you get the idea. Soul Blasting. That's why this card says a lot of Soul Blasting stuff, because it needs the Soul Charge, and there's cards in the deck that Soul Charges, so you get the idea. Done. So, Limit Break. When you reveal a grade 1 or above unit when you drive check, so for example, you reveal like a grade 2, then you can Soul Blast 3, and then you can dump that card, and then drive check again. And you can do it again, until you get like a trigger. And then you get the trigger, so that's your first check. And do it again, Soul Blast, and do it again. And then you get another trigger. Double trigger, what do you know? So here's the thing, okay. This card is probably the only card that can consistently double trigger, due to the fact that you can just consistently thin out your deck until you get that double trigger, which can throw off your opponent pretty hard, because they just can't guard correctly, because they have to overguard consistently to stop this card's attack. Why this is good? Because they have to overguard. And even when they overguard, they have to block the other 2 rear guards that can potentially hit for 21,000 or 26,000 if your opponent is not prepared enough for it. So you can hit pretty huge numbers if you have the soul for it, which I'm going to bring to my con. You need a lot of soul. In order to exchange the triggers, you have to Soul Blast 3. Now granted, there are cards that can Soul Charge pretty consistently, like Emblem Master and a bunch of other cards. I mean, there's a lot of cards in this deck that can just Soul Charge in general, but you need to maintain that soul, or else you can't pull off this card's Limit Break. It's not the easiest thing to do, due to the fact that the cost is so high. I mean, can you imagine just going through one turn and Soul Blasting 9 cards? That there goes like half your soul, and you probably didn't even trigger to begin with, so you have to be very, very careful on when to activate and when not to activate it. So you have to kind of just pre-plan your head and count your deck, not like blackjack, but in a sense where you can kind of figure out if you're going to trigger at least one card. Like, I tested this deck out, and I went through turns where I Soul Blasted 15 and still didn't get a trigger. And then the turn after that, when my opponent attacks me, I didn't get a trigger at all. And then the next turn I Soul Blast again, no trigger. It happens. So you just have to be careful. So, yeah, that's kind of the careful. I mean, granted, there is that effect where if you Soul Blast 3, you can plus 5,000, but who does that when you want a trigger? That's the kind of the point. So it just kind of depends if you want to have the power early, or if you just want to trigger in general. I mean, can you imagine this attacking for like 21,000 to the Vanguard? So they have the guard for 25k guard if they're an 11k Vanguard. That's a pretty big number, especially early game. That's not the easiest thing to guard. Trust me. And then they have the rear guards on top of that. If they don't have a perfect guard, they're kind of dead. Totally honest with you. Another thing to note that she's 11,000, making her an automatically awesome Vanguard, just in general. So, not much to talk about. I mean, well, I lie. There's a lot to talk about Fortuna. She's really good 11k. Just really good. I mean, a card that can thin out the deck for triggers during the battle phase is really strong, especially if you have a consistent way of soul charging. If you can maintain that, this card is literally a goddess. Not even going to joke around here. There is 2 other really powerful grade 3s in set 10, which is Artemis and Iwanaga Hime, but they, in my opinion, do not come close to this card's powerhouseness. I just said powerhouseness. That's how good this is. In my opinion, it's the best of the 3. And comboing it with Himiko, which is in set 10, this card is pretty good. I mean, granted, you have the Soul Blast with Himiko's if you want an extra card draw, but if you're just feeling like you want to just punch your opponent's face in, then you can just not Soul Blast, go for the plus 1000, and kick some shins. So, really, really good grade 3. Fortuna Genesis should pick it up while it's cheap, because it is cheap, but it's going to go pretty high once set 10 comes out. Not even going to kid around. If you want it, get it now. It's $8 to $10, and it's just gonna consistently rise. Same goes for SPs. It's $40 to $50. Get it now, or it's gonna hit huge prices. It's gonna run over Dauntless Drive Dragon. I will say it right now. It will beat Dauntless Drive Dragon. Maybe, hopefully, I don't know. But really good grade 3. Really good card for Genesis. Even though we don't even have any of it yet. Ha ha ha. But it's not the best clan. But this is definitely the best grade 3 for set clan. So it's really, you could drive double trigger every turn. Yeah, that's pretty good. Anyways, that's Fortuna. Not much else to say for Genesis due to the fact they're not even out yet. But if anything, if you want to run a deck similar to Oracle's and you kind of want a fresh start though, then Fortuna's your deck. Or Iwanaga Hime, or Artemis. But 11k Vanguard. I mean, they're all other 11k Vanguards, but this is the best 11k Vanguard of the 3. Consistent, it's a rear guard 11,000. It's good. Powerhouse. Good card. Yeah. So, anyways, thanks guys for watching the video, and stay tuned. I'm almost done with the triple rares, man. Oh my gosh. Talked about 6 triple rares. Can't believe I'm consistently doing this, but there's 2 more to go, and it's the deck that I use. If that wasn't obvious, then too bad. Well, gonna talk about them. The last 2 great triple R's, Celestials. You know who they are. Yeah. Fortuna, really good card, but you have to wait till December 13th.